And welcome to the latest in our Picks and Ponderings video preview series. I'm Paul Major of Picks and Ponderings. This week, we're putting the band back together. We've got Nicole Newlist at Rogue Clown on Twitter joining us on the program as well. You can
I
find
am
me.
joining live from Overland Park, Kansas.
Yes, I'm at Hey Laserbeam live from my usual command center somewhere in the suburbs of Chicago. We've got Nicole at Rogue Clown. She's told you where she is. We're both at Picks Ponderings. For all but one day of the year, Delta Downs runs races at night, whether it be quarters in the summer or the flat thoroughbreds in the fall, winter, and early spring, except for one day. That one day is the 21st of November, Delta Jackpot Day. An octet of stakes, two of them graded, two of them for 2-year-olds, are among the festivities on the Delta Jackpot card. Yes, Delta Downs has itself tied firmly to a casino and names a couple stakes based off some Las Vegas properties. But Nicole, I've got to give Delta credit for one thing, and that's they try. Yes, Delta is a bit corny when track announcer Don Stevens comes on when Gerald Melanson, G-Money, wins a race, or when Colby the Big Cheese Hernandez wins. But at least Delta keeps it fun and entertaining. It makes this a card to look forward to.
Absolutely. There's never a dull moment watching Delta Downs. I mean, kind of funny you brought up the Big Cheese, Colby Hernandez, because a couple nights ago I was watching Don Stevens. He was periscoping from the announcer booth, and the Big Cheese won the race. So we got a Big Cheese on Periscope, and it was entertaining. Delta is a lot of fun, and Jackpot Day is the one day a year when more national racing eyes are looking at Vinton, Louisiana.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to put Delta among the Louisiana A track of the winter, be at the fairgrounds. I'm not going to say it's a fairgrounds level. I'm not going to say it's Oaklawn's level. It's kind of like it's a minor league thing, but like a good minor league baseball game, you get in, the action's halfway good, better than halfway good, and Delta, and as I've said before, Delta tries. They try to keep you engaged. Maybe it's the somewhat corny nicknames. Maybe it's the eclectic music tunes, or maybe it's track announcer Don Stevens hawking the $10.95 prime rib special from the adjoining casino. But it's a lot more interesting than watching a lot of other racetrack feeds that just tend to be, here's our horses, they're going in a circle. And it gets kind of blah, and it makes you feel kind of blasé. At least Delta makes it fun. Give them A+ to that.
And if you're ever dissatisfied with the music Delta's playing, send a tweet to Don Stevens, and he might play your pick.
They take requests too. Wow. Well, we take your requests too, and we'll get to that at the end of our video podcast broadcast. We're not on the iPods yet. We're on the videos. In this preview, we're going to take a look at the big race, the $1 million Delta Jackpot. It goes as the 7th at Delta, and it's the final leg of an all-stakes pick 4 that goes from races 4 through 7. It's the last leg of that. One race before it is the Princess, which we'll also do a joint preview of as well. 1 1/16 on the dirt. Oh, and it's Derby points season. I totally forgot. 10 Derby points to the winner if you're in. 10 to the winner.
More than the winner of the Illinois Derby gets.
You just had to rub the salt, Nicole. You just had to.
Yes, that's what I'm there for, Paul. That's what I'm there for.
10 for the winner, 4 for the runner-up, 2 if you crack this, 2 if you're third, 1 if you're fourth. We know it's more than the Illinois Derby that gets 0, 0, 0, 0. And don't think the Delta Jackpot chintzy race, Golden Sense and Big Drama are Breeders' Cup winners who won the Delta Jackpot, and they'll kindly have a word with you later. So let's get into this Delta Jackpot. Field of 10, A mile and a 16th on the supposed bull ring of Delta. And I really don't feel creative in here, Nicole, but I'd like to hear what you think about this Delta Jackpot, because I don't feel creative in this race.
I'm right there with you. I'm not super creative either. It's a fairly stratified field. There's some who come in with really good form, really good speeds, and some who seem to be taking a shot. And even though this is a supposed bull ring, and it is, can be a love it or hate it sort of track, class still holds when it's there. And last year, who did we see battling to win? It was the shipper horses. You had Ocho 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 winning the jackpot. You had Take Charge Brandy coming straight from the Breeders' Cup to win the Princess. And there is one horse here who's coming straight from the Breeders' Cup, and that is number 9, #Curlin Babies, Exaggerator. Even though he's probably the one to beat here, Exaggerator on his best day is going to be very, very tough. There's another angle that's been very, 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 very tough this entire 2-year-old season, and that's Doug O'Neill. And that's where I'm going in this race, is the number 7, Found Money. Found Money is a California bred, son of Square Eddie, and he won first out, and he won the listed Santa Anita Juvenile after that. He hasn't won in his last 3 starts, but the last 2, he's gotten kind of outkicked, outrun late at the end, finished second behind Smoky Image both of those times. We know Smoky Image is at least a pretty serious Calbred. We'll see how he progresses going forward. That said, Doug O'Neill has been pretty good this year with taking the horses who keep getting beat, be it by stablemates who may or may not be named Nyquist, or other horses, and finding places where they can win. Doug O'Neill shippers have had a pretty good time this year. Think Rallis shipping out for the Hopeful, or think Gomo shipping out for the Alcibiades. He knows what he's doing, and I think he knows what he's doing here. He looks to be the best of the speed horses in this race, and Delta can be pretty friendly to those front-running types. He's also shown that he can survive a fight. In both of his wins, he was on a contested pace the entire way around and still lived to tell the tale. He does stretch out here to a mile and a 16th for the first time. He's never gone past 7, but with general meeting underneath, I don't think it's nuts to think that he's going to get a mile and a 16th. He gets his regular rider, not his regular rider, but his 2-time rider, Mario Gutierrez, back. He's had another Corey Nakatani for the other 3. Gutierrez has won on Found Money once, and looks like they can work well together. It looks like Doug O'Neill's been extra shrewd with his shippers, and that's where I'm going to land. For my second, though, I did land on the Curlin Baby Exaggerator, and I'll kick it back to Paul to say a few words about him.
I'm going to be going with Exaggerator, but this is a case of try as I might, I can't come up with anything better. Try as I might, I can't come up with anything better than Exaggerator. He has that runner-up in the Breeders' Futurity over a quirky, drying out track, and he franked that form when he cracked the Superfecta last time out in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Yes, he's been chasing around Nyquist and Swipe, and Nicole does bring up the good point that when Doug O'Neill puts horses on a plane, he means business. I just worry that Found Money might get roped into a pace duel. He's not the only one who's going to be stretching out in this spot. Iron Dome from the very far gate 10 is also going to be a stretch out, even though it's 6 furlongs to a mile and 16th. One thing also with Delta to keep in mind is because it is a bull ring, this isn't like a mile and a 16th at Hawthorne or a mile and a 16th at Keeneland or a mile and 16th at any other racetrack at most other racetracks with 2 turns. There's a longer run up from the start of the race until you hit the first turn. It's not where you have that extra straightaway distance that I think is going to tilt the race not to someone who's on the front, but to someone who can say save some ground or is willing to let the runners go, let the front runners do some dirty work. I'm thinking that plays right into the hands of Exaggerator. I know 2-1 I know Don Stevens made the morning line and made a 2-1, and his morning line is falling as we speak. But I think that I've got the DeSormo boys, and with Kent riding for Keith, they've had Texas Red at 2 and 3 and into the 3-year-old years, so these are connections you can know and trust. He is going third off the layoff after being put away after winning the Grade 2 Saratoga Special during the summer. So I don't worry as much about that BC bounce that people talk about. He also on the speed figure service I'm using, he ran similar numbers from the Saratoga. He ran similar numbers from his Saratoga race through his 2-turn races. So I don't think he's going to regress. He could still progress because he's 2 and 2-year-olds can progress. I know it makes me Chalky the Weasel, but I'm going to be taking Exaggerator as my top choice in the Grade 3 Jackpot. Course number 9, with the DeSormo boys, Kent for trainer Keith.
And one more point about the DeSormo boys, it also wouldn't be the first time that they've sent a horse to Delta to win. They won the Princess in 06 with Miss Atlantic City. So, maybe Keith DeSormo has an idea of who can run down at Delta. They've done it before, and you make a lot of good points. Exaggerator will be on all my tickets and has a good chance to do it again.
He's got the chance to do it again, and this is the original home circuit of Keith. This is an original home circuit. Sort of before Keith DeSormo has gone to bigger tracks like Fairgrounds or now to the Southern California circuit, he's plied his trade at places like Delta, kind of like an Al Stall would, in that he can still come back to where he used to be and say, you know what, there's a reason I used to be here, and there's a reason I've left, and that's because I'm good. And that's probably the reasoning, and that's sort of the reasoning I'm going to use. You slotted Exaggerator second behind your top choice Found Money. I'm going to go for a somewhat unconventional number 4 Whitmore as my second choice. Robbie Alvarado to ride for Ron Moquette on a second-time stretch-out. Even though he drew away with some style in the Open Maiden Special at Churchill last time, he had that slow break, so he did at least get a little bit of an education. And I'm thinking because he's only making his second start, can make a bit of a progression. He can progress. He has more room to progress from start 1 to start 2 as someone like Exaggerator who's progressing further, who doesn't have as much room to progress in that he's going in start 5 or start 6 in his career. Second start progression is my main reasoning for using Whitmore, even though he's stretching out. But I've got a lot of two-turn. I've got two-turn breeding over two-turn breeding over two-turn breeding. Pleasantly Perfect out of a Scat Daddy baby is out of a Scat Daddy mare says 2 turns all day every day.
And I went elsewhere, but I get your points on Whitmore. As we said already, my second choice is Exaggerator. Going to third choices, I'm actually with the number 3, and that's Sunny Ridge. He is coming out of a second place finish behind Greenpoint Crusader in the Champagne, and the reason I like Sunny Ridge is I find it really interesting that Arad Ortiz is shipping out to ride at Delta. And I looked to see what other mounts he had during the day. He didn't have any He didn't have any regular mounts that he was any horses he'd even been on before, and yet he's shipping out ostensibly to ride in the big money race of the day. And you've also got here, he's riding for trainer Jason Service, who Rod and Jason Service have been 4 for their last 10 and 7 for 10 in the money over the last 2 months. So up north, they're kind of a hot pair. Service himself is 26% with his shippers. So he's another one of those trainers who he picks his spots well, he means business, and he's taking a jockey with him who is not only generally on fire, but on fire particularly with horses for Jason Service. And as far as the pace scenario is concerned, he's stalking the mid-pack type. He's not going to be right on the front, but he should still be within a length or two, one of that next flight back, close enough to not leave himself too much to do late. The figures fit, the people fit, the style fits, and I've got Sunny Ridge third.
While you've got Sunny Ridge third, I'm going to be looking to the number 5, Harlan Punch, as my third choice. Gerald Melanson, G Money for Tom Amos, and it seems and the Melanson Amos team usually will get hot at Delta. Gerald Melanson stays down in Louisiana during the summer, riding at Evangeline and Louisiana Downs. But it seems that when Delta comes, he gets on a tear. Harlan Punch goes first time blinkers in this spot, and that's something where with the always successful Amos, you're getting 25% win, 61% of the money. He would be the type that if the stretch out speeds go too fast on the front end, he's going to be the one to reap the benefits. If someone puts the throw to found money, if that stretch out sprinter from Thistle ships in and takes the early pace to him, Harlan Punch is going to be the one who's going to be circling wide, and knowing that this one closed to be second in the Jean Lafitte, the local prep for this. Yeah, there is that outfinished comment where he lost a little bit of ground, but he's going second off the layoff, and there's still some room for some upside with Harlan Punch, who I'll be slotting third in the Delta Jackpot.
Well, from going from third to long shots, you stole my long shot shtick up to and including the G Money reference, because Harlan Punch, the number 5, is my long shot for basically the reasons that Paul mentioned. And as far as that outfinished comment, who knows? Maybe he's serviceable but doesn't necessarily love the slop. Remember, it was sloppy that day for the Jean Lafitte. He looked nice on fast dirt when he broke his maiden at the Pea Patch this summer, so he stands to improve returning to fast dirt. He gets G Money back. He goes first-time blinkers for a trainer who's hot first-time blinkers. And I absolutely agree. If things get fun on the front end between Memories of Winter, Found Money, and Iron Dome, then Harlan Punch should be well set to reap the benefits, especially because he's shown that he can close on the Delta Downs track. And, compared to a lot of these shipper types, you may get a decent price on him. So, yep, there's my long shot, Harlan Punch.
Harlan Punch is a long shot play that you can know and trust, because I bounce back and forth between Harlan Punch and another horse and the one I'm using as my long shot to watch. Just because I picked Harlan Punch third doesn't mean I disagree with Nicole's idea of using that as a long shot. For me, my bomb squad or a long shot to watch play is the number 2, Memories of Winter. Pat Valenzuela will ride. Pat Valenzuela No, we have not stepped into a time. No, we've not stepped into a time machine. This is the same P-Val that rode in Southern California, who's trying for the 83rd squillionth time to make a fresh start and has now decided to try it in Louisiana. He's going to be riding for He's going to be riding for Anthony Margata Jr., a trainer who's 4 for 9 this year, winning, not in the money, but winning with 2-year-olds. And 7 of 9 in the money. You don't need to be Charlie Sheen to see that you don't need Charlie Sheen, nor do you need a plus ROI nor to see a plus ROI sticking out to see that that's something to like. Memories of Winter broke his maiden at first asking back at Monmouth in the summertime. Last time he won a first level allowance going a mile at Laurel. Significant to that is that Laurel is a 1-turn mile. And he was close to the pace, but he wasn't on the pace dictating the turns at Laurel. Plus, sometimes Laurel is a track where the clock is a bit misleading. It seems that they can go a lot slower at Laurel, somewhat similar to, say, Hawthorne, where if you're going, say, a mile, where if you're getting 3/4 times, in the 112, 113 range, that's probably similar to 109, 109, 110, maybe even 111 at your upper level tracks. I'm also looking at him. He's only going 3rd start. Breeding makes sense as well. Byhard spun out of a Street Cry mare. Yes, he's taking a large step up in class, going from a Laurel first level allowance all the way to the Jackpot. But if you're going to take a shot in a big $1 million race, and you're going to and why not do it with a jockey who probably has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder? Remember, P-Val probably wants to ride as much as anybody in sunny Southern California, not at temperate 60-degree Delta, and do it with a runner who while going 2 turns for the first time, has shown miler speed as opposed to the cheaper 6 furlong speed that comes from the Thistle Shipper. The number 2, Memories of Winter, will be my long shot.
So to recap our selections in the Delta Jackpot, the 7th race this Saturday at Delta Downs, my top selection is the number 7, Found Money. In second, I've slotted the number 9, Exaggerator. In third, I've slotted the number 3, Sunny Ridge. And my long shot is the number 5, Harlan Punch.
For me in the Delta Jackpot, the concluding leg of that All Sticks Pick 4, my top choice will be number 9, Exaggerator. The second choice, number 4, Whitmore. The third choice, number 5, Harlan Punch, with a long shot under of number 2, 945, long shot of 2.
Thank you all for watching, and good luck in the jackpot.